The big questions on Bhopal that I want to put to our viewers. Is the Bhopal verdict a blot on our judicial system? Is Bhopal a constant reminder of the need for greater corporate accountability? Do mass crimes simply go unpunished in our country? Those are the big talking points. We have a special panel. Joining us now, Rachna Dhingra, activist of the Bhopal Group of Information and Action from Bhopal. Joining us, Sanjay Parikh, lawyer from New Delhi, who's been working with similar cases. UC Banerjee, former judge of the Supreme Court. Colin Gonsalves, executive director, Human Rights Law Network, who's also worked with the victims of Bhopal. And to give a corporate perspective, UCIL Seth joins us from London, corporate affairs analyst. Thanks all very much for joining us. I want to come to you, Rachna, on the ground there today. Do you feel a sense of anger, shock, outrage at what has happened today, or is it something you expected?
All of those feelings we feel, but this is something that we expected also. Because CBI has been totally inept in performing their duties. CBI knew very well the dangers of this. They never once investigated the MIC sister plant in West Virginia. The whole trial has been conducted without doing an analysis. It took CBI more than 13 years to just send one extradition request to Warren Anderson. And once the extradition request was rejected by the U.S. State and Justice Department, they just sat on it and did nothing up till now. Okay. Today, what we see here is that after 25 years, only 2 years of imprisonment, and all of them have gone home. All of them have gotten bail. All of them have gone home. And I've been answering questions since morning, Rajdeep, but I want to ask the Prime Minister, who's the minister in charge of CBI, is why is he not listening to us? When we have walked from Bhopal to Delhi, when we have done all of this,
so you're blaming the CBI. Today you're blaming the CBI. It's not the lawyers, it's not the Supreme Court which diluted charges. You believe that the CBI is principally responsible for conducting a shoddy investigation.
CBI with the help of the Senate, and we are blaming the Prime Minister because CBI has been under a lot of pressure also from the central government. Okay,
let me turn to a former Supreme Court Justice who's on our panel. UC Banerjee, isn't it a day of shame really for the judiciary? The fact is that an open and shut case, 25 years later, what do we get? The accused simply walk away on 25,000 surety in a country where 15,000 people were officially killed, 25,000 unofficially killed, lakhs have had their lives destroyed. What does this say about our judiciary?
Rajdeep, I am really shocked to hear the verdict. Probably in our country, human values are nil. Nil. They are
but it's a judge.
As any ship or boat.
It's your judge, and the Supreme Court itself a few years ago diluted the charges. It starts with the way the judiciary operates. Isn't that true, Colin Gonsalves? Can the Supreme Court get away?
Yes, you're absolutely right. The 1996 decision of the Supreme Court, where the main charge against the accused person of culpable homicide not amounting to murder, 304 Part 2, was quashed. And what was introduced in its place was what my friend Satyu from Bhopal calls the traffic offence, 304 capital A, which is negligence. So he's absolutely correct. The Supreme Court actually did grave disservice to the people of Bhopal, and I suppose now we must go and review and ask the Supreme Court to recognize that it made a second mistake actually in 1996. The first mistake was made in 1989 when the Supreme Court upheld that awful settlement which Union Carbide entered into with the Union government, where all criminal cases were quashed. And the Supreme Court in 1989 quashed and said, it's perfectly correct, all criminal cases must go. And it was only when there was an uproar in the country that in 1991 the Supreme Court was forced to reconsider that position and recall that order and in fact correct itself.
So you're saying,
this is the second mistake.
You're saying two mistakes of the Supreme Court need to be reviewed. Mr. Parikh, as a lawyer, do you believe that part of the problem was the weakness with which the case was presented to the courts, or is it just the nature of the law, Mr. Parikh?
No, let me tell you, unprecedented kind of tragedy, human tragedy which has taken place.
Yes.
And there are three things which are very important. One is that 25 years it has taken really for this particular verdict which has come. So it raises a very big question on the criminal justice system of our country. That's number one. Number two, the way in which compensation of 25,000 and 1 lakh to the people, you have mentioned the figures. The figures are which we have recently put in the Supreme Court, that 22,000 have died and more than 10 lakhs have suffered injuries. And they have received compensation at a very late stage, this meager compensation which has been paid to them. And the third important thing is the Warren Anderson, 1992, he was declared an absconder and no action was taken by the government or by CBI to extradite him and take him to task. So therefore, there are two things which are important. No, I want to just tell you, as far as the dilution of charge is concerned, certainly the verdict of Supreme Court in 1996 was not correct. And second thing is the extradition which should have been pursued by the CBI and government.
So extradition. So the